Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Season 4 of my life. And I'm calling this one Healing. I have to go back a little bit to fill in things that I did not talk about yet. Things that happened during this time period, right after my second divorce, up until the time I turned 60. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And here we go. So I'm living with my mom in the apartments, very nice apartments in Alpharetta, Georgia. And I had met this new guy who I'm seeing, calling him Pablo. And it truly was a healing time. He even said it. He said that he felt like it was very therapeutic for both of us to be together. And I do believe that because, as I told you before, I'm not going to get into it again, but we both have been through a lot of trauma and we had things in common besides that, especially our faith. And even though this is not God's normal way of working, I believe that God can work in mysterious ways, and I'm not going to get into all that. Not going to do it into a Bible study. So, anyway, we were together during this time, and I was living with my mom, or my mom was living with me, um, and she went to Florida again to visit her sister and my cousins in Florida. And again, I'm not sure why I didn't go with her, but she ended up staying like a long time. A couple months. She really overstayed her welcome. Um, I think she wanted to stay there. She wanted to live with her sister rather than live with me, but her sister, was happy the way she was. So, but what my mom did not understand was um, her finances. She had worked hard all her life in a factory, and she had a good pension, widow's benefits from my dad, who was lifetime military. But she also liked to spend. She liked to shop. She liked to spend. If she ever went to a restaurant, she had no regard for the price or how much food she was getting or anything. She just ordered everything. I mean, she was kind of kooky like that. And she didn't really understand how credit cards worked. I don't think she understood about the interest at all. But she also went to Japan. And when she went to Japan, this time she maxed out her credit cards. And that was bad because she didn't understand why. It was like she didn't believe it. I think she thought that I did it somehow, and the same thing. She overstayed her welcome. She was gone, like the maximum time you could be out of the country is 6 months. And she, if you're an American citizen and all that, you have to come back after 6 months. But anyway, she was with my sister in Japan and my nieces and all that. And after a while, it was too much, and she had to come home. She didn't want to come home again. She wanted to stay somewhere else. She thought the grass would be greener on the other side, um, but that didn't work out for her. And she spent, that was pretty much. She didn't have much left after that. When I was in my second marriage, she spent a whole lot of money there. She invested in my ex-husband's business venture, and she also bought a lot of, she spent, I don't know, 1,000 or so on the yard, buying trees and bushes and all that stuff. Anyway, but a lot of money she invested into my ex-husband's business, which did not work out, and she didn't understand her finances at all. Once she was retired and not, just getting that check every week and those, I don't know, she didn't understand credit cards. So, that was a situation with her. I'm still living with her. She was not happy. And my dog, um, Xena, the bull mastiff, she would come and visit every once, like we shared custody of her, so she would come visit sometimes, and that was kind of nice. Anyway, in my job, I applied. I was at the IHG company still, Intercontinental Hotels, parent of Holiday Inn and all. And I applied for management position. By this time, I had been working for them a long, long time, and was very disappointed because I didn't get it. I was totally qualified. I really felt like I should have got it. It was my time, but they gave the position to a guy that I had actually trained on the job. He was like 27 years old, um, fresh out of college with his business degree. He was bilingual, and English was his second language. Um, Nice guy. I mean, I was friendly with him at work, and I liked him. We even ate lunch together, just the two of us sometimes. I had been to his house and everything. I mean, we were friends, but I was very disappointed about him becoming my manager. I didn't feel it was fair or right or anything, but that happened. And during that time, one day, he came up to me and he says, "Are you from Long Branch, New Jersey?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "'Cause the new lady just hired is also from there." I said, "Get out." I mean, I'm in Atlanta. I never ran into anybody from Long Branch, New Jersey. And that was just crazy. So I walked right over to her desk. I saw that her nameplate, and I said, "Is Frank your brother?" And she jumped up and screamed, "Ah, you know my brother." So I told her that I was from her hometown, and she just starts jumping up and down and hugging me and everything. It was so cool. And we started talking, about, and we had all these, mutual people that we knew. She was quite a bit younger than me, but her brother was my age. And, because of that, we had mutual people that we knew. There was only one high school in the town that we lived in, and turned out, how crazy is this? Well, first of all, she's right in my department doing the exact same job as me, right? And how crazy is this that we found out that when I was with my first husband, Bob, um, we lived 4 years together in this house on Atlantic Avenue, only one house away from Rockwell. And she was on Rockwell, only one house away from Atlantic. So there was only one house between her and me. And that means that our backyards must have touched. How crazy is that? So that was awesome. Instant friends, of course. And then on my job, I did have to go out on disability for a while because of my arthritis got so bad. I had some extreme pain back then. Um, Everything was hurting pretty much, and especially my back, but most of all my fingers. Um, so I went on disability, and I was able to come back like after the 12 weeks, and they brought in a nurse to set up my office situation ergonomically, um, make sure I had the right kind of chair and everything, for my posture and everything makes a big difference, whole big difference that you're in the right position if you're going to be on the computer all day, probably anything you do. So all that happened when I was during this period of time, and my health was definitely failing me. And I'm in my 50s now. So also during that time, I got one day I woke up in the morning and looked in the mirror, and there was this big lump, like right here. It looked like I swallowed a golf ball. And, I touch it, and it was soft, and, they call it palpable or something. Anyway, of course, I went to doctor. Doctor took one look at it, and he said, "Oh yeah, that needs to come out." And so so I had the surgery. It was on my thyroid, and they had to remove that lobe, half of my thyroid, because what it was uh, a nodule, which I was already having this nodule monitored on my thyroid, and it was benign. But the nodule was engorged with blood, and it just blew up like a balloon right here. You know, like I say, it was like a golf ball sticking out of my neck. Sticking out part looked like a golf ball, right? And so had that removed. I was in the hospital a few days, 4 days, I believe, with that, and that surgery went fine, and I haven't had any problems since then with my thyroid. I do take medication ever since then, and I guess that's okay. They test me, blood tests, like every 3 months. Um, and then I moved. What happened was that we were in that apartment for like 3 months. I mean, 3 years. And then, you know, every year they raise your rent. Well, it got to the point where it was going to be ridiculous. So, was able to buy a house. Um, I told you I had to file bankruptcy after my divorce, so my credit was tanked, but my mom had good credit and I had a good salary. So between with my income and her credit, we were able to buy a house in Johns Creek, which is right by Alpharetta, Georgia. Very nice area to live in. I got a 3 bedroom, 2 bath ranch, 2-car garage with a nice little yard and very nice subdivision. And I made friends right away. I got playing bunco with the ladies. No, not bunco, Pokino, which is a lot more fun than bunco. Um, we would do it like with 12, about 12 every week, and not every week, once a month. We'd take turns hosting, and it was good. Well, by this time, my mom was starting to get kind of strange. She was uh, she became antisocial, where she used to be very social and very friendly and liked to have fun and party time and all that, and she became very antisocial. She didn't even want to meet any of the neighbors. When I brought people over to my house, she stayed in her bedroom, and so she was changing. And anyway, I had a next door neighbor. Not next door. I'm sorry, my next door neighbor. They were cool. They were from Colombia. She couldn't talk English at all, but he was like around my age, and he could speak a little bit of English. And they had a 10-year-old daughter. She was a lot young. I mean, the wife was a lot younger. I thought that he was the grandfather, but turns out that it was his daughter. And anyway, they were very nice next door on that side. And next door to them, um, there was a lady who I was friendly with. She would play the bunco with us and all. And she got the necrotizing fasciitis bacteria, the flesh-eating bacteria, and she had to have her leg amputated all the way up to her thigh, her hip, all the way to her hip, her whole leg. This was a beautiful woman in her 30s, like I think she was 35 or 37, something like that when it happened. Beautiful lady. Um, so sad. And I cried my eyes out that night when I heard about that. And I remember my mother yelling at me to shut up, stop crying like she always did. I told you about that story before, about how I always suppressed my tears and my heartaches. I always suppressed them since I was a kid because I was never allowed to cry. Anyway, I have so much story behind me. If you didn't watch it, if you care to hear, watch it. It's all out there. Season 1, season 2, season 3. Now I'm on season 4. And I'm healing from all that other crap that happened to me in those other seasons. So, learning to cry, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, um, then there was another time when I was living in that house when I started having a lot of pain in my stomach. And it was like infrequent at first. It started getting more and more frequent and stronger and worse and worse. And it got to where I started missing work, and I couldn't go to work one day, and then I go to the doctor, and they did a CAT scan, uh, and I just got home from it, and I got a call immediately, and they said, this is the imaging place. They said you were just here. You need to go immediately check yourself into the hospital. They said you have a blockage in your colon. So, and I'll tell you, I was having bad pain by then. It was like labor pains just shooting across my abdomen. It was really bad. And so I went to the ER, checked in. They did surgery immediately. No, I'm sorry, they didn't do surgery. What they did was they pumped me out in the ER. They pumped me out. It was the grossest thing I ever encountered, where they stuck a tube up my nose and down into my stomach, and they pumped everything out of my nose from my intestines that was stuck because I had a blockage in my small intestines. And it was really gross and horrible, and it hurt like hell when they stuck that thing down me. Um, and then I was in the hospital for 4 days after that. Um, and I just felt so disgusting, and they had that nasty thing hanging up behind me with that green crap in it, and oh, the whole experience was so horrible. Anyway, I was with that guy, that I had been with him, my boyfriend, for 7 years. We didn't live together, but we were a couple for 7 years, and I would not let him come visit, because I was embarrassed for him to see me like that, and he was 12 years younger than me. And when things happen to you like that, it makes you feel old. I had just had my thyroid surgery, you know, I don't know how long previously, and now I'm in the hospital for this. And I told my kids, don't let him come. I said, tell him it's family only. And so they told him family only, you can't come. And he was very insulted, that I wouldn't let him come as family. And that was the beginning of the end for us, um, because I was realizing, that I didn't I couldn't do it with him because of the age difference. I was getting old, and I couldn't keep it up. You know, I was his anti-aging experiment. He was always trying to teach me new exercises, and he would buy me these supplements that he learned about, and he would buy me creams and lotions for my face and everything. He was always trying to preserve me because, he knew my age, and he was trying to keep me young. He said, you're my anti-aging experiment, see if this works, see how that works, and da da da. So anyway, it was like I didn't want to have to try to keep on being young for him. I wanted to just let nature take its course, and um, I didn't want to have to feel, bad because I was getting old. You know, I wanted to be okay with that. I didn't want to feel bad about that. I didn't want to feel sorry for him because he was with the old lady. So I was kind of winding it down by that time, and I was realizing that the relationship had no future, even though I did love him. I really did love him, but I felt like we didn't have a future together as man and wife. So there was also around that time, okay, that I was going to the North Point non-denominational church, Andy Stanley's church there. It's like one of the biggest mega churches in the country. Absolutely loving it. Um, Went many years by myself. Then I finally, after praying for years, my son started coming with me. So during this time period, it became a thing between me and my son that we would go to church every Sunday, and after church we would have lunch together, and then we would always go for a hike after that, and that was our Sunday thing. That was when I spent time with my son every week, and I really enjoyed that very, very much, and I think he did too. It was good. And I was feeling around this time like I wanted to get more involved in church. Um, there was many opportunities to serve, to volunteer, of course, and all that. And I was thinking that I wanted to do more and get more involved. And I probably joined a small group around that time. Um, I was in several, and first one was probably around that time. And my boyfriend Pablo, that was one of the biggest things that we had that we used to butt heads about all the time. It was one of the biggest things we had in common was our faith, but our theology differed a lot. So we used to fight about that. And that was, he didn't like my church. He was fundamentalist Baptist. He didn't like my church. He called it a fluff church because we were not preaching hellfire and all that. So those were things that were changing me around that time. Now, also, I had this guy come visit me, a friend from California, um, and that was all in my season two, my California years. And this was a guy that I knew from church in California. He was one of the young couples he had a little girl, and they were in our church, and we were friends with him and his wife. His wife used to do my hair and everything. Anyway, they got divorced after we did, and like I say, everybody in that church fell apart basically. It became a Hispanic church because the English speaking people all the young couples got divorced pretty much. Um, it was too strict, too conservative, too strict, focusing on the wrong things, and that's what I believe about the fundamentalist Baptists also, and that previous church was Seventh Day Adventist. So this guy, he worked for IBM. This guy was brilliant. He worked for IBM like his whole life, and when I first moved to Atlanta, because he lived in California, but he was flying to Atlanta where IBM headquarters corporate was in Atlanta, and he would fly out for business every so often. And he visited me and the kids once when I first moved to Atlanta. He came to our little apartment and he took us out to dinner one time. And then here it is, like 15 years later or more. Um, he comes to visit me again. And this time he was remarried. He was remarried a black lady, and and she had twins that were like 10 years old, a boy and a girl. And because I guess we used to, every couple of years, you know how it is with old friends. Sometimes I have a few of those. Every couple of years, we would talk on the phone. And then he told me, I have twins now too. And so I invited him to come visit, and they were black twins, which was, you know, um, not what I expected. I didn't know what to expect. I thought he had newborn baby twins, but they were 10-year-old. And so anyway, it was really great to visit with him, and he told me about his spiritual experience, about how he had something similar where he also went with his new wife to the her church, which was non-denominational also. like North Point. And he said that when he first started going, he felt so guilty because he was going to church on Sunday, because Seventh-day Adventists teach you that it's wrong to go to church on Sunday. And he said he was feeling so guilty about going on Sunday, but he was liking it so much. And he said he was praying about it and everything. He said one day when he was in church, he had an epiphany, like a vision or something. He just said that he was in church, enjoying it, feeling the spirit, and feeling guilty at the same time because all that Seventh-day Adventist stuff was drilled into his head, like mine. And he said that all of a sudden he felt God speak to him, and God told him, he said, look around. He said, look around. He said, these are my people too. And, you know, I was so glad to hear that God was working on him just like he was working on me. And anyway, I haven't seen him since. Um, I don't think his wife liked him being friends with me too much, you know. But anyway, that was so good. Such a great visit. So good to see him that time. And also then what happened was while we were living in that house, um, Bob died, my first husband, avalanche. It was a rock slide in California on the Black's Beach, right below Torrey Pines in La Jolla, where the golf course is and all that on the beach there, and he was killed. So we flew out there for the memorial, me and the kids, and all of our old friends from California came out to see us, to be there. And if you need to watch that season 2 about that whole story, but um, Bob had deserted all his friends, and all of those friends from church, they all came out. I was so amazed, so surprised. There was so much love there, and I got to see everybody, and it was a beautiful thing. My daughter arranged the whole memorial ceremony and all on the beach at Coronado Silver Strand, which is a beautiful beach out there that he loved. That's where we did the memorial. And so Pablo, my boyfriend at that time, he really stepped up for my son. Um, my other son's married, and then my daughter was married at that time. And but my single son, he might have taken it the hardest. I don't know. I mean, all the kids took it hard, but he didn't have anybody, because he was single. And Pablo really stepped up to the plate for him and became like a dad. He even took him because he was not happy what he was doing. My son, he had become a neuromuscular massage therapist, and then he was not happy with that, and then he wanted to go to school for something else, but it was somewhere during that time anyway. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do, and Pablo used to be, before he became a pastor, he was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and he was a MP. And he took my son to, even took a day off of work. Pablo took a day off of work to take my son to the recruiter to try to get him in the Air Force. Um, I thought that would be good for him, but my son decided against it. Anyway, I'm just telling you that how much, how close we were. We were together 7 years, and I felt like I was married to the man, even though I did not live with him ever. Felt like he was married. We were married. I'm sure he probably felt that way too. And we didn't do much, but Pablo and I, we couldn't go out much because he never had any money and he was supporting his kids in another state and everything. But we did go on one vacation. We went to Charleston, South Carolina, drove there a little road trip, and stayed at the Mills House, which was a beautiful historic house, and it was owned by Holiday Inn at that time, um, when I worked there and had got employee rate and all that. But now I saw that it got bought out by somebody else. Different chain owns them now, but a really nice hotel, Mills House. And we went and toured the base there and went in the submarines. I only went in one submarine because it gave me claustrophobia. I don't know how those men can live down there. It was so close. So, uh, anyway, but that was a nice vacation. And another thing we did that was fun, because we rarely went anywhere. So, the other thing we did that was fun was he took me to the Renaissance Festival. And that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot. So, let's see. Oh my goodness, it's so long, longer than I planned. So I gotta stop here. Okay, thanks for watching.